Welcome to YPN News, bringing you exclusive coverage of the House of Yahweh Sabbath services featuring Yisrayl Hawkins. Yisrayl Hawkins is Yahweh's last days anointed witness spoken of throughout the Bible, in Revelations, Isaiah, Zechariah, and many other places. He's also pastor and overseer of the Last Days House of Yahweh. And joining me today in the studio is YPN contributor Kyle Yandrasevitz to bring us more on the subject. Kyle, great to have you here today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so let's talk about the teachings of Yisrayl Hawkins, today's Sabbath sermon. I want to start out with something that I thought was very interesting. Yisrayl Hawkins said in his sermon that man was not the original inhabitants on earth, but the original sons were. I know he's taught a little bit about that before, but can you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah, so his sons, the original sons of Yahweh, are actually the gods. Those are his original sons. I mean, Yahweh always had it a part of his plan to hand over a lot of power to mankind. And it was asked of him, why would you give all this power over to these lesser beings when you can give it to your sons? And so he did. But it proved that they couldn't handle the power because of the results was the destruction of the earth. The first time, which is what we see in Genesis chapter 1 verse 1, when it describes how darkness covered the face of the deep, and you can see all that misery, death, destruction, wickedness, sorrow. That all came as a result of the gods, and they were practicing sin. They created dinosaurs, they had war games, which caused the first floods, and that's how, when you think about Genesis, you like to think of it as being the beginning of the world, but it actually was just our beginning, because a lot of destruction took place before we were created and were placed on this planet.
Wow, that is very interesting. And then moving on to the next topic, he talked about the coronavirus, of course, because we know that this is the first plague and the world is reeling from this plague right now, and we see the numbers keep rising, and he's teaching a lot about that now. But in his most recent blog, it was called, "You Think the Coronavirus Will Go Away? See What You Face and What to Do." And that was the latest one that just came out. And in there he talks about why it will only come on the people that have the mark of the beast. So can you explain about that?
Yes, that was very interesting, the way that he described the coronavirus in that blog, because he was explaining how Yahweh and his people had nothing to do with the creation of this virus. It's caused by sin and sinners. And so he likened it to puppies. And I thought that was interesting, because the overseer used to be a dog breeder years ago. And he was saying it was like baby puppies hunting for its mother. And he was saying in that blog that its mother is all nations. And it's like how a puppy goes looking for its mother. It's not gonna hunt a non-mother. It's going to avoid Yahweh's people like it would avoid a non-mother. And I thought that even that word mother was interesting, because even with the news that they played this morning, and they were talking about the travel, how everyone wants to be with their family around Thanksgiving. But they were warning that this is going to be the mother of all super spreading events. So
very interesting choice.
It's like we're going to have a lot more puppies, if you think of it that way.
Right, definitely. And he also talked about in the blog that the coronavirus was released by global warming. So tell us about that.
Yeah, that was another interesting part. He was saying how the coronavirus has actually been trapped in the Earth's soil since the days of the flood. And now, because of global warming, which is caused by the same sins that caused the coronavirus, that's causing it to become unleashed and, wreak havoc.
Yeah, so just one disaster after another.
Yeah.
Also today in the broadcast, we saw a lot of news reports about the coronavirus, and I thought it was very interesting, the RT report about the top Russian virologist who had something to say that the overseer Yisrayl Hawkins had brought out before. What was that?
Yeah, he actually said that the coronavirus is not going to kill you, but it will finish you.
Right, and that's something that Yisrayl Hawkins had actually brought out previously that nobody had known about, and now the top scientists are saying that.
It's like whatever disease you have going on in your body, it's like it will attack whatever part of your body's weak, and that's actually what's going to take you down, but it doesn't actually kill you itself. Right.
Moving on to the next subject, he also talked about the land of Israel and the 12 tribes, and about how they moved to Rome and coming back in 1948, and that prophecy. Can you tell us about that?
He explained how the children of Israel were taken to Egypt, and they were taught God worship when they learned God worship, and they in turn taught it. and how when they came out of Egypt, Yahweh offered him his laws, and they rejected it. They rejected his laws. They rejected the teacher that was teaching them his laws, which was Moshe, which is the same as what's going on with the nation today. They brought that down throughout their generations. They cherished what they learned in Egypt. Like, that's what they held on to instead of Yahweh's laws. And that's what you see in Israel today still. They still reject Yahweh's laws to this day.
Right, and it reminds me, it takes me back to the beginning. We were talking about the original sons, how they rejected Yahweh's laws also. And it seems like it's the same pattern there. And how does this tie into the coronavirus?
It ties into the coronavirus because it's Yahweh's laws are the center of everything. You know, so you keep the laws, you're blessed. But if you break the laws, we bring curses on ourselves. And so the corona is just one of those results of those curses that we've brought on ourselves because of sin.
From rejecting Yahweh's laws.
Yes.
I see. Okay. Now, in today's sermon, he talked about some very specific scriptures: Daniel 9:27, Matthew 24:15, Daniel 9:11, and Genesis 3:1. And then he said to put these all together. So what was the message that he was bringing out there?
Yes, he was pretty much talking about the pouring out of curses. Like in Daniel 9, verse 11, he was explaining how the prophet Daniel was telling the nation of Israel, you know, all these things have come upon us is because we've broken Yahweh's laws. And these things, he's talking about these curses, these plagues. And then in Daniel 9:27, he's talking about, you know, the things being poured out on the desolator. And he says to connect that with Revelation 16, verse 1 and 2, which is talking about the coronavirus, the first plague, and he's showing how the seventh Malach pours out the bowls, you know, teaching the people about this prophesied message of these curses getting poured out because of we've broken Yahweh's laws.
So the two pourings, we have the seventh Malach who is pouring out the knowledge, teaching, and then the actual plagues that are coming upon the people because of the sins. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk to you about is he was talking about 2 years left. Now we know that the last 3.5 years started in June of 2019, and he talks a lot about that. He has a lot of teachings on that. But he talked about 2 years left and the changing of the kingdoms. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, he said we have 2 years left to get ready, and he said not for salvation, but for the changing of the kingdoms. Like he pretty much said salvation is the changing of the kingdoms. And I know when a lot of people think about the end, they think it's a scary time, like we need to be saved, we need salvation, but it's actually, it's a great thing that we want to look forward to because it's shifting from mankind's governments to Yahweh's governments, and that's what we have 2 years left to get ready for. So we have an awesome thing to look forward to, seeing that Yahweh's governments are going to take over.
Yes, absolutely. It sounds great. Kyle, thank you so much for coming in today, and as always, it's a pleasure to speak with you.
Anytime.
All right, thanks. Well, that's our report for today, and we'll continue to bring you exclusive coverage of the teachings of Yahweh's last days anointed witness, Yisrayl Hawkins, the one sent by Yahweh to teach Yahweh's laws and prophecies. And remember, Sabbath services are streaming live every seventh-day Sabbath, and you can catch a broadcast on Facebook Live or Yahweh.com. And if you would like more information, you can contact the House of Yahweh at P.O. Box 2498, Abilene, Texas 79604, or call toll-free 1-800-613-9494, or visit the website at Yahweh.com or IsraelHawkins.com or Yahweh'sBranch.com. And for all calls outside of the United States, please call the number on your screen. And be sure to visit our website, YPNnews.com, and visit our YouTube channel, YPN News Extra, for more news and information. I'm Kim Kaziaka. On behalf of all of us here at YPN News, thanks for watching.